Anti-government riots taking place in Turkey have made headlines around the world as protesters clashed with police and a general sense of unrest took over the country. Here in Israel, we spoke to a national security expert about the latest developments along with if and how they may impact bilateral relations between the two nations.
Sorry?
Can you explain what sparked the protests in Istanbul?
The protest that started in Istanbul in Taksim Square, which has significance to the state because this is the place of gathering, this is the place of demonstrations. In the past, they have started from something limited, an outcry against the plans to build there a mall. That's what the protester said, and this was in general. The Turkish growth has caused many environmental problems and many damage to historical sites which the people are protesting at. So it started with something limited. The government overreacted. It used tear gas and there were many casualties. And then it started to expand, both in Taksim Square. It started from a few hundreds and became something much larger. And then it moved to other cities in Turkey. The most notable is Ankara and Izmir.
Is Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan leading Turkey to become a more extremist Islamic state?
Definitely what is causing the outcry of some of the people who are going to the protests nowadays is some of the legislation that has Islamic tones for it. For example, the alcohol laws. People are worried that this is coming from an Islam prism and not coming from a real concern of public health. And this is only one issue. Generally, Erdogan is trying to push Turkey to be more conservative. He's telling the woman to have 3 children. He's anti-abortion. He is anti-cesarean operations in women. And all of this is making some people feel uncomfortable that he's interfering in their lifestyle. The problem is Turkey is not so much Erdogan's authoritarian tendency, but rather that the opposition is so weak. A liberal person in Turkey today does not feel that he has a representative in the parliament. I don't think these protests are going to lead to Erdogan's fall. Definitely there will be a change of policy after these protests will end. He might become more authoritarian, and that's one road, or he might become actually more liberal, more like he was in the first term in office, in which he really opened Turkey in many respects.
Does Turkey exemplify how a secular Muslim state may appear?
I definitely think that in Turkey you have liberal people who have religious feelings and they can live with it. I mean, then they can co-op with it, just like you have in other states in which people are religious but also hold or are open that other people have more liberal views than them. I definitely think places like Istanbul, places like Izmir can be an example of how you can be definitely a liberal in a Muslim country.
Now, where do things stand when it comes to Israeli-Turkish bilateral relations?
The relations between Israel and Turkey are now in a delicate stage. We had the apology on the Marmara affair that Netanyahu issued during Obama's visit to Israel. This was a major breakthrough. We basically have a general agreement on how the compensation will take place, but there is still disagreement on the sum, the amount of money that Israel will pay each family. I don't think Israel is the main issue that is currently occupying both the Middle East and Turkey. But in general, these protests are an indication that we now live in a very volatile era. The youth in the Middle East wants the voice to be heard. And this is creating unrest, it's creating change. And change is, even if it's change for the better, it's something that is difficult to deal with, especially for governments who don't really understand also sometimes the nature of the change in other countries.
Here in Tel Aviv, Turkish-Israeli activists protested outside this Turkish embassy in Tel Aviv as well, in solidarity with the Turkish people. And while these protests in Turkey have no direct link to the Jewish state, Israel is following the developments very closely. For JN1, I'm Sivan Raviv, Tel Aviv.